Hi guys, how's it going? Nice to have you guys here again. I hope you had a great day. Please confirm you can hear me by maybe just putting something on the chat, and then I will also share my screen so we can get started for today's session. Okay. Please confirm you can see my spreadsheet, Excel, to be sure I'm sharing the right screen. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. All right, so we'll get started. I believe many of us had time to practice what we learned yesterday. Again, please be reminded that practice brings perfection for everything that in this program. So we encourage us to really practice stuff as soon as we do them. After every class. And if you have questions, of course, the group is always there for you to ask your questions. All right, so I'm going to take questions for the first 5 minutes. So I see someone's hand is raised up. So Princess, let's have your question. So we'll take 5 minutes and then we'll start. So Princess, please go ahead. Your hand is up.
Hi, please. I don't have a question. I was actually raising my hand to indicate that I can hear you and see your screen.
I see. Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, so anyone with question before we start today? Anyone? I think someone asked the question on one of the chats. Just one person. She was trying out the F4 key, and I hope she was able to get that. Again, if you have any question, you have your group, your classes, so just ask the question and you will get the answer. So if there's no question, let's just continue to what we have today. Okay. All right, so today we'll be starting, or we'll continue from where we stopped yesterday. So yesterday we looked at the overview of Microsoft Excel. We looked at cell, range, sheets, workbooks. I believe we all understand what these terms mean now. We also look at entering cell values and data in Excel. So this means that you're trying to input your data by yourself. As an analyst or as you go along with your career, you will likely get data, so you will likely get data. Please, let's mute ourselves, please, as soon as you join the call. So you likely get your data, so you wouldn't have to be manually trying to impute data by yourself, but it's important to understand those things that we did yesterday. Also, we looked at formulas. So formulas, we look at basic stuff like addition, division, multiplication, and then we move to functions. So but before functions, we looked at references. So here I put load, because we still have to complete the referencing that we're going to start from now, and then we'll go fully into functions. So I believe today, probably throughout today, we'll be dealing with a lot of functions. So if we're able to cover all of them, then we'll try to see if we can have something else. But I believe that with what we have, we'll just spend today doing functions. On the chat, actually on Discord now, please check your resources group. I sent a data set there. You would find something like this. So once you open it, it's named day 2. So please ensure to download so that you can follow along with what we are going to do today. Everything we need is right there. So you don't need to use any other resource apart from this for today. Okay. So going back to content, this is what we did yesterday. So we'll continue from here. So we already explained what what relative reference mean. It's a lab class. I would have loved to hear if you remember, but I strongly believe we all remember. And then absolute cell reference as well. So we are trying to like fix it. By default, Excel does relative referencing. And then sometimes you don't want it to do that. You want your value to be fixed. And then you try to do absolute. So by using the F4 on your keyboard to add the $sign. Some people, I mentioned yesterday, it depends on the configuration of your keyboard. So there are some keyboards that before you use any of the functions key, you have to press the functions key. That's like FN. You will see it. FN is usually between I think the Windows button and the Alt key, depending on the configuration of your. So you just need to know what your computer, what your keyboard or what computer you are using. So some of us might be able to press F4 directly and it's going to work. Some of us might need to press FN. You'll see FN key, and then you press it, and then you press whatever F key that you need. So it could be F1, F2, F3. This time it's F4. So for some of us having this difficulty, I'm just sharing with you again so that you can try it again. And then you can just manually like also add the $sign. So
what do you mean? Are you not there?
Please let's meet ourselves. All right. So sometimes you want a mix of both relative and absolute. So I know that sounds weird because like we know we have relative and then we know we have absolute. So why do we have to like mix them? Yes, there are cases where we want to either lock the row or the column, not both of them. Because what we did yesterday with the absolute is like we are locking both of them. So let me show you what I mean by that. If we look at our workbook for yesterday, when we did the absolute referencing, we actually locked. You would notice that this $sign is in front of A, which is the column, and then it's also in front of 2, which represent the row. So we are locking both the row and the column. This is what makes it an absolute. But in case of partial, you would lock either of them, not both of them. So it means that you can have something like $2, which means you are locking the row, which is 2, or you have something like this, $K2, which means that you are locking the column, which is K, and then you are leaving the 2 to move, you are leaving the 2 to do whatever it wants. So 2 can increase or decrease. You get the idea. So I know that's probably not clear, but we are going to see examples so that you can understand perfectly. So I'm just trying to build us up for what we're about to do. So let's start from there. It's really a complicated concept. I'm not saying that it's difficult, but based on record, student takes time to really build on it. So that's why I decided to take it first when I believe all of us are still like really fresh. If you still don't understand it, I will try my best to explain, but if you still don't understand it, don't get discouraged. It's like I said, you would master it. Don't worry about it. I can guarantee you. You just need to practice on it. And it has no connection with other things we'll be doing today. So if you don't understand this, don't feel like, oh, it's over. And then you just give up on the class. Every other thing we'll be doing after this referencing does not have anything to do with it. So still pay attention, even if you don't get this mixed reference idea, okay? Okay, so let's go to our file. Again, I believe we all have this file. This is day 2. So in order to make it something we can relate with, I thought of using what we are all familiar with, which is like a multiplication table, right? So I believe many of us here, where we're like nursery school or whatever it's called in our countries, we have something like this where we can just perform an operation. So in this case, we want to multiply, okay? So it means that looking at this, you get what is going on here. Let me try to bold this so that we can distinguish them. So what's going on here is that for this particular place, what I want to do is write a formula. This, okay, let me write it first, 10 by 10, right? So 10 multiplied by 10. So this is what I want to get here, right? So here is going to be 10 times 20, right? So here is going to be 10 times 30, right? And then here is going to be 10 times 40. We all agree with that, right? Okay. So based on what we learned yesterday, you know this is not a good way to write my my formulas, right? So it's fixed. So I should rather use the cell reference. And then, oops, I cannot click on this. So you can probably have this issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this again and look at this reference myself. So I know that is D2. So I can just type D2. Okay, so now I can reference this place. So it's still going to give us 100. Now let's start with one side. So let's start with just this one. Let's resolve this one, and then we'll try to expand to the other side. So based on what we learned yesterday, you would expect that once I drag this down, we should have the answer. Is it not? Yes, but we are not going to have the answer. So once I drag down, you can see there is something weird going on because 40 times 10 cannot give us this value. So let's check what's going on. So if I click on this, which is the one we did, is correct. But when I click here, you can see now that this value, which is D3, has moved, right? Similar to what we did yesterday, right? And we don't expect it to move. We expect it to stay at 10. Do we all agree with that? Please just say yes on the chat so that I know that you are with me. Do we agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what are we going to do? Who can tell me what we're going to do based on what we learned yesterday? You can type on the chat, yeah? Or say something. What are we going to do based on what we learned yesterday?
We'll fix D3.
Yeah, good. So we'll fix D3. Okay. I don't like this idea of add $sign. No, don't call it that way. Call it the name. Fix it or absolute reference. Yeah, that's better. So we're going to fix D3, right? So how do we fix that? You know that by now, just F4, right? Or you add the $sign manually by yourself. So, but I can't do that yet. So it's better I do it from the beginning of the formula. Because this is what I want to drag down. So I'm going to add .F4. So I have this. So now when I drag this down, I have the correct answer, right? So because now it stays at 40, at 10, and then we are 40. This is clear. This is just the same thing as what we did yesterday. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. I want to do the same thing here, and you can agree with me that I can just write the same formula like this. This multiplied by, here is going to be E2, right? So E2. And then if I drag it down, we'll have the same issue as we had earlier. So in order to fix this again, you have to like fix this. So you do F4 again, and then you drag it down, which is correct, right? Now, it's all sounding good, but imagine you have like, probably you are here to 100. You get what I'm saying? So, and you want to keep doing it. Of course, you are going to get the right answer. But by now, you should know everything we are doing is about efficiency, right? So, I mean, there's a better way. Working with Excel reference program and all of that, you can just do all of these things at once and then drag it down like this and then drag it. That's what we want to do now. So instead of having to do this one by one, come here to 30, do the same formula, come here to 40, do the same formula, and so on. You are really stressing yourself. Okay, so we want to find a way so that Excel can adjust because it's about referencing, right? So we want it that, can you adjust when I move this way? I want it to also move this way. So let's see. Now, based on what we have here, let me try to move. If I move this way, you will see that I'm getting 1,000, which is wrong because I'm supposed to get 200. So let's see what is going on. This is what is going on. When I click on this, you see that this is fixed, right? This is D2, correct, it's fixed. But this guy now is moving. You get the idea? Because maybe we did not do an example yesterday. I only showed you an example of up, down. The same thing when you go left, right, Excel also moves. It's about relative referencing, okay? So when you come down, it goes down. When you come right, it goes right. When you come left, it goes right, left. So now because I brought it from here now, everything here will shift. So my formula here is C3 and D2. But because I've logged D2, nothing will happen to D2. So it's this C3 now will move here to D3. And that's exactly what's happening here. So you can see that your D3 now is moving to, your C3 now is moving to D3. And if I drag this further, I expect this D here to now change to E again. But this one is still fixed because we have already fixed it. So now we have another problem that we are seeing. And what is the problem? The problem is that whenever we go this way, we want this value here to be fixed. Do you agree with me? So that when I'm here, it is going to be this times this. When I'm here, it's also going to be this. So this is not going to be changing. Do you agree with that? So what do? The same thing, we fix this. So let me try to fix it because this is what is changing, this C3. Now I fix it. Once I fix it, now, when I drag it this way, it's not correct. There's a problem again. So because now it is fixed, both of them are fixed. So we are like getting the same result. So 10 times 10 every time, 10 times 10 every time, 10 times 10 every time, 10 times 10 every time. The same thing, if I come down now, this value will change because it's just 10 times 10 every time, 10 times 10 every time. So this is why the idea of mixed reference comes in. Because what is happening right now is that everything is rigid. We've just fixed everything permanently. So the idea of mixed is such that sometimes you will need it to be fixed, just like in this case. Here, whenever we are coming like this, we want this value to be fixed, right? Do you agree with me? But we want these ones to change when we are coming in this direction. Do you agree with me? So that because when I'm here, I want it to be this value times this value. When I'm here, I want it to be this same value now, but this one should change to this one. When I'm here, I want it to be this value, but this value now should change to this one. So it means I want to fix on one side, and then I want to be relative on the other side. So that's where we have the idea of mixed reference. Okay, so that's where it becomes really handy. The same thing when we are coming in this direction. When I'm here, I want this value to be fixed, but this one should change. So it means when I come here, it should still be 10, but this value should change. When I'm here, it should still be 10, but this value should change. When I'm here, it should still be this value, but this one should change. Do you get the idea now? So what now? How do you now go about this? Let's see and try something. So I'm going to start again. I'm going to close that. Now that we agreed that relative and the absolute referencing cannot work, both of them cannot work. So now we have to mix them together. So let's start all over again. So we'll start with this multiplied by D3, right? Is it D3? No, D2. Okay. So I'm going to drag it down again. We can pick a side. So sometimes you can decide to start this way. Anyhow you want to start, you are still going to arrive at the same. It's like a puzzle. So if you decide to start from this direction, you will still get the final answer. If you want to start from this direction, you will still get the same answer. So either way, so I will do one side. So maybe when you get to it, you can try to do the other side to understand the concept. So I will be starting from this side. So it means I will resolve this side first, and then I will try to resolve it along this direction. Okay. All right. So let's drag this down. When I drag this down, the same issue we had earlier, you know how to fix it. No, so now I'm going to do F4 to lock this. Okay, so it is correct. Now, when I bring this to this direction, now I'm having that issue. So what is going on here is that this value, as you already know, is moving, but I don't want this value to move. I want it to be locked. Now, let me ask you a question. When I was here, let me click on the formula here to see it. When I was here, this value is C3, right? Now, when I came here, this value became D3. Can you see? It became D3. But we don't want it to change to D3. We want it to still remain at C3. Now, what do you notice? You will notice that I am still on row 3, right? So it means that anytime I move in this direction, I'm not expecting 3 to change. 3 will always be 3 because I am in this direction. Are you getting the concept now? 3 will always be 3 because I am in this direction. So here it is C3, here it is D3. I don't have a problem with 3. What I have a problem with now is what? Is C changing to D. So that gives me an idea of what to lock. So now I know that I don't need to lock, when I'm going in this direction, I don't need to lock my 3 because it will always be 3 across this direction. So it's only this C that I don't want to change. So now I'm going to lock C only, and I will leave 3. Okay, so there are several ways you could do that. You could add the $ yourself, or you could use F4. So to add the dollar sign, just add it as you know, type it on your keyboard. To use F4, now when you press F4 the first time, it's going to automatically lock both of them. If you press F4 again, it's going to remove from the column and leave it on the row, right? This is not what we need. So you press it again, F4. Now it has given it to, it has locked the column, which is C, and has allowed 3 to move freely. And if I press it again, it's going to take the references totally. So just for you to know, if you use F4, you have 4 things. So the first one is going to lock both of them. The second one is going to lock one of them, which is the row. The third time, if you press it, it's going to lock the column and leave the row. And then the fourth time is going to remove here. So that's if you use F4. So now what we want is to lock the column, which is C, because it is C that is changing to D, right? So I leave this as is. Now, when I drag this in this direction, now, you can see that the result has changed, right? So we need to troubleshoot again to see what's going on. That's how it works. You just have to keep troubleshooting until you get your perfect answer. So let's check what is going on. So when I check here, you can see that what we were having before is no longer happening. It is still retained at C. This is no longer moving, which means that we're on the right track. This is no longer moving. This is no longer moving. So I think we already fixed this one. So the next thing now, based on what you see here, is to fix this guy, because this guy now is locked. We've locked it and we expect it to be moving. Are you getting? So here, I'm expecting it to be F, not still staying at D. So now, based on what we did moments ago, what do you think we need to lock? I know it's the first time, so I'm going to answer myself. So let's just try to reason together. So here, it is D2. But here, I want it to be E2. Here, I want it to be F2. So what does that mean? It means that I want the column to change, but I want the row to be locked. Do you get the idea now? So it means I'm going to allow the column to change. You know, here, what we did for the C is that we locked the column. So, but if for this one now, for this D, we want to lock the row, but we want this guy to change freely so that when we go in this direction, it can go from D to E to F and so on. So let's do it. So when I come here to the original formula, I'm going to remove the dollar sign from D so that we have D$2 and I press enter. So now when I drag this, you will see that it's correct because now my D is now moving. Now it's no longer D2, it is now E2 because I have allowed this to move freely. Okay, can you see? So now, after we have resolved this, let's try to check if this formula that we change, if it's still going to give us the same result that we have here. So let me drag it down. When I drag it down, you see that we have the same answer. So let's investigate what's going on. So now, based on the new formula that we added, you will see that for the first one, which is this C, because I locked the C, so C, of course, we are moving down. It will never leave C. It's just like the idea we used with the row earlier. So I'm moving down in this place. So it will always be C. If we are here, it will be C something. It can be C3, it can be C5. It will still be C. Are you getting the idea? But what we don't want, what we want to move freely is this number, which is number 4. So it can go from 3 to 4 to 5 and so on and so forth. And then for D, for this one now, we want this number to be fixed at 2. So that when I'm here, I don't want it to leave this particular value. So it means that when I'm on this side also, I want it to be E2. So it is not going to go past 2. So it's just going to be at 2. That's why we locked 2 here. And that's why the formula works. So when I drag this down, so now look at where it gets interesting. Because we have already resolved the formulas, this direction and this direction. If I drag this down, I'll get my answer. And then if I drag all of this, I'll also get my answer. So you can see now that 40 times 40 indeed is 1,600. I know that's a lot. I know someone is already confused. Oh, I know this. I know this. Trust me, I know. So let me let me give room for questions. I'm going to explain one more time. Or maybe I can even go the other direction. So, we started from this direction now. So I can probably start from this direction. Okay, I know you need break to chew this. And I gave you the disclaimer from the beginning that it's not a concept that I expect you to really like easily grasp directly. You need practice to understand. Those comments are making me laugh, but it's okay. It's okay. So let me explain again. But my explanation is not so that it will be on your head. You need to practice this to master it. Trust me. Because the scenario is not always like this. You could have it in different ways in your real life data. But just get the concept that you can have absolute reference, you can have relative, and sometimes you need it to be mixed. Okay? So that's just the idea. Let me start all over again. And then hopefully you get it this time. All right. So let's take a deep breath.
Sorry, before you start, did you say F4? Because on my Mac, when I press F4, nothing comes up.
Yeah, because you are using a Mac, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I gave that disclaimer at the start. So you would need to check online. Just check how to use F4. So you probably need to press something. I don't know what you need to press. Maybe you need to use the option or the control. I'm not sure which of them. But I think Mac also has like a function key. But I don't really do work on this Mac. So, but just check online. Just Google it and say how to use F4 in Mac. You will get your answer. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, F4 that cannot work directly because it's like different. I gave that disclaimer at the beginning. Okay, I have another question here. The person said, I just tried it now. When I drag down, it's not coming up on the table. Okay, someone said she used Mac and then it works for her. So just try to check on that, but it's issue with like your keyboard or something. So you can just try to Google it. Okay, please let me know if you fix that issue with Mac. You can ask on your Discord group so that we can try to solve that for you. Okay, so let me start all over again, guys, all over again, so that we can grasp this. Okay, so what we want to do, as we all know, is we want to multiply. We want to create like a multiplication table, right? So this multiplied by this multiplied by this multiplied by this. You have your value here. This multiplied by this, you have your value here. You know that, right? So let's start with the first one. So you already know it's going to be this multiplied by this. So the value here is D2. I'm unable to click it. I don't know why, but I know it is D2, so I'm just going to click on enter. So based on what we did, should I start from this area or I repeat the same thing I did? Okay, I think it's okay. I repeat the same thing I did so that you can master that one. Then you go home. And when you are doing your home, after you've already practiced this method, so you can start from this direction and try to bring it down. Okay, that's what you're going to do on your own side. So let me use the normal thing that I did earlier. So as you know, this is a relative formula. So it means that when I drag this down, I actually expect this to be 20 times 10, 30 times 10 for this place, 40 times 10 for this place. But I don't think that seems to be the case. There's something going on. So when we investigate, you can see that this guy is actually moving down, which is exactly what we experienced yesterday, what we call relative preference. Okay, so we know for sure now that we need to do an absolute somewhere here, right? So let me try to do it first. Okay, so I want to lock this guy. I don't want this guy to be moving up and down. So this D2, I'm going to lock with F4. Okay, and then I'm going to drag it down. Now, if this is the issue, if this is just my table, we are done. You don't need to be doing any mixed. If this is just the only table I have, let's assume this is not the only thing I need to deal with, then Stephanie. So why we are having to complicate it a bit more is because of these other guys here. That's why we need to and I said that you can actually just do the same thing here repeatedly. This multiplied by this guy here is E2, so E2, and then we know we need to lock it so that it doesn't move. And then I drag it down, right? I can do this one too as well. This multiplied by this guy here is F2, right? And then I need to lock it so that it doesn't move down, and I drag it. Now, this is correct. Like, it's going to work. But the issue is it's stressful, right? So because you can see, what if we have like 100. We are going to 100. Are you going to be doing that to 100? No, it's not. It doesn't make sense. So we are trying to use the capability of Excel referencing to solve this, such that we can do this in just one place, one cell, and then drag it to wherever we want to drag it, and it's still going to get the result that we want. So that's just the whole idea. Okay. So I'm going to delete this because they are wasting our time. So let's start solving from this angle. So the way it works, not just in this particular example, generally, when you have issues, you are trying to work on something and you have issues, you need to troubleshoot step by step. That's how it works. You don't take it like from the huge part. So you break it down, and I think you need to master this. So let's start from the simple. What's going on at this simple level? Okay. You guys, so that's how it works. So we'll be checking this one by one and see what is actually going on. So for this one now, it is resolved because we can see that we have exactly what we want. But what if we extend this like this? Because that is what we actually want. We want to be able to extend this to this side, and also it should be able to automatically pick that when we are here, we are multiplying this by this. So right now, we can see that that's actually not the case. So why is that? Let's investigate. So when I click on this, I see that there is a problem. The problem is there are two problems. Number one is that this guy is not moving, because now that we're in column E, I expected this guy to move from D to E. It's not moving. That's problem one. Problem two is that this guy is moving. So I don't want that one to move. I want that one to move, and I don't want this one to move, because this guy is moving from C to D, and I don't want it to move because I want it to be here, because this guy will always be the multiplier. This multiplied by this. So it means that I want one to move. I don't want the other to move. That already tells you that there are contradictions. So we need to be able to mix them. We cannot have both of them moving. We cannot have both of them fixed. So one has to move, one has to stay. So that gives us the idea of the mixing, the partial reference. So let's see how we can solve this again, one after the other. So let's start with the first one. We identified two problems, right? So don't try to solve both of them at the same time, one by one. So let's start with this one, this guy that is moving. So this guy on blue, because here you can see that it has moved from C3 to D3. If I come here, it has moved from C3 now to E3, but I don't want it to move. I want it to be here forever. So let's solve that. So when I click on this formula, now let's try to investigate the move. So it is moving from C to D, but I don't want it to move from C to D. I want it to remain at C. So that tells me that I need to lock C. Simple. So I'm going to lock C with my $sign. I showed you the other way to do it. So you can press F4. I think that will be 3 times. You will be able to lock C. It means that I want to lock this colon, but this guy can move, because here I want it to be able to go from C3 to C4. I want it to be able to go from C4 to C5. When I come down, are you getting this? If I lock both of them, it means that, okay, let's try to lock both of them so you can see. I add the $sign again. If I lock both of them and I drag this down, you will see that it's going to affect this formula, because now you have locked it permanently. Do you get the idea now? So you have to be able to track it on both sides. So I don't want this C to change to D. I locked it, but I want it, anytime I drag down, I want it to be able to change from 4 to 5 to 6. So it means that I'm going to leave this row guy to be free so that you can move. Okay. So once I click on enter, check this side, nothing happened. This one is still intact. Now let me take it in this direction. Okay, so there's a change from what we initially had, but it's still not the solution. So it means that we solved one of the problems. Don't forget, we identified 2 problems, right? So we solved the first problem, that this guy is not moving anymore. You can see it's not moving anymore. This guy is not moving anymore. Now let's go to the second problem. The second problem is that this guy needs to move. So it needs to go from D to E, and then here it needs to go from D to F, and then here it needs to go from D to G. You get the idea now? So let's go and solve that. So if we want it to go from D to E, it means that we need to let this guy free. Let my people go. Let this guy be free. So D should be free so that it can move in this direction. Are you getting the idea? But I don't want this 2 to move, because if I leave 2 and I bring this down, it's going to alter this whole formula, because don't forget, this guy was moving earlier. So when we drag down, 2 will be moving for this one to 4 to 3 to 4 to 5 and so on. So all I need to do is only lock 2. I don't want 2 to move, but D can move. So 2 is for this side. So when I'm coming down like this, it should still remain at 2. And of course, because I am on colon D, even though I let D to be free, this place will always be colon D. So whenever I am on anywhere on this place, it's always going to be D2. Because 2 is fixed and we are on colon D, it will always be D2. Whenever I'm here, if I bring this formula here now, it will always be F2, because 2 again is fixed, but we are colon E, it will always be E2, because E is on colon E, that's not going to change, and 2 is already fixed. The same thing here, F2 is always going to be colon F, so F is going to be F, and then 2 will be constant. Okay, so once I do that, I drag this, so this has been resolved. Let's see if it works this way. This also has been resolved. So once you can solve it this way and this way, then you can be rest assured that it will always work anywhere you go. So if I drag this here now, and I drag this, both of them, it will automatically fill the formula for me. So if you check here now, it's going to be 40 times 40. Okay? To make it more interesting, let me add 50 here. Okay? And then I had 50 here. So of course, automatically it fills the one for the bottom. Excel is smart, so it already fills for the bottom for me. So it just needs to fix this one. So I can drag this here and then drag like this. You can see how everything is just working so smooth. That's just because of the referencing. Okay, so I hope you get the idea. Go and practice this again. Sit with it. It's a concept that you don't want to miss out on Excel. You know, I told you from the start, we are not teaching anything that you wouldn't need. Trust me, you would need this a lot when you are working in Excel. When we start real projects, you will see the use case for it. Because sometimes, just based on what you want some things to change, you don't want some other things to. So you need to be able to mix them. You don't want to just be fixed at all times. So you need this dynamism. Okay, so someone said he thinks he gets it now. So yeah, practice. So let's take questions. Yeah, I think I see some hands raised up. Okay, please, Mr. Samuel, please ask your question.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, so I remembered yesterday when you were showing us the autofill option.
Yeah.
And you told us, let's assume we have like 200 or more rows. You just double tap on the plus sign, and then it autofills the whole row, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so now my question is, what if is it possible is there a way we can autofill columns as well?
Like this, going in this direction?
Yes, sir.
No.
That question.
No. Very interesting question, but no. Whenever you use it, always just go down.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you for that question. Very interesting one. Yeah. So what he was asking is, yesterday we learned that you can just double click on this. We can actually use it for what we've done so far. So let me try to delete this. So if I like double click on this, that's what it's asking, like being able to autofill. So he's asking that instead of going like this, can we go like this? Well, I might be wrong. Maybe someone somewhere has a cheat for it. So I only answered based on what I've learned, what I know so far. But I've never seen you being able to like do something here and then it goes in this direction. No. So, but in case anyone knows, yeah, please mute yourself. So again, you will see now that based on this formula that we did, you know, here we have always come from this direction. So I can also come like start here and just drag it down. It will always be the same. Okay, someone said Control R is fill to right. Oh, interesting. You see? So let's check it. So let me use Control R. Oh, it did not work. Control R is to fill to the right. Maybe you can correct that for us. Let me try Control Shift R. It's not working. So please, Mr. Monday, if you can correct that for us, it would be nice. Okay, someone said we can use Flash Fill to fill to the right. I know if I bring Flash Fill here, it did not fill to the right. I don't know how that works. Maybe you can. Okay, I will check it when I have the break. So if I find the solution, I would share. But if anyone also has like something, I like the cells you want to fill and use Control R. So I like the cells Control R. It's still not working.
You have
Okay,
to highlight the cells, then you use Control R.
Bravo. So you got your answer. Thank you. Thank you for teaching me something today. Thank you. So we are all learning. That's nice. So who was that? Miss Isti Java. Okay. So Mr. Sam, you got your answer. So you can actually fill everything when you like copy everything and then use Control R. So I guess it can even work maybe without this guy. So let's try just this guy alone and then Control R. Okay, it only works to the right. Okay. Okay, I did Control D and that one did to the down. So that's interesting. So Control R to the right, Control D downward. So we are learning something. Now we are that's it. I love this class. This class seems to be a very impressive one. Okay, so let me give you guys time to digest this. So let's come back in 5 minutes exactly. I want to take some questions on YouTube. So for those of us that, I mean, everyone has the workbook. So try to practice with this. Don't forget the shortcuts we just learned also, Control R, Control D. Try to work on them just to keep them on your head. So we'll be back in 5 minutes. So while I check some questions on YouTube. Thank you. All right, everyone. We are back. Okay, so a couple of questions that came from both sides, both YouTube and Zoom. Again, the resource, that's the workbook we are using, you can find it on the Discord group. Okay, so for those that are not on the Discord group, it means that you did not register. That's those watching on YouTube. So what I'm going to do is at the end, probably at the end of session, I can add a link where you can download in the Google Drive. But for those on the Discord group, just check the resources section channel, LearnCamp resources. You'll find the workbook there that has been posted before the beginning of the class. Okay, so let's get started now to the second session, part of our session today. So the next thing, I hope we had time to practice the absolute reference. Again, you need more practice and then you will get used to it. I mean, trust me, you would really get used to it. It's really very interesting. So just practice again and again, and then you will really find yourself using it a lot. Okay. So now we'll be going to, this is done now, mixed referencing is done. So go to functions. I know we started functions yesterday, but I just touched on it very briefly because we had limited time and just wanted to get us curious for what we are going to be doing today. So I'll be starting more like over again, but just to show us how it was. By now, you already know that functions is like a predefined formula. So you have a lot of formulas and then you are trying to use something to collect them together. So instead of having to write several formulas, and then you can just use functions. So I showed that example yesterday. I will not be showing it today. So today we'll just go straight to the point. So yesterday I mentioned that there are a lot of functions in Excel, about 400 plus, if I'm not mistaken. So the goal is not for you to have all of them on your head. Of course, if you can, it's good. But trust me, you just need some basic ones. And if you go online, you can check common functions for a data analyst. You will find them. So there are some that you cannot just do without. Like anytime you want to work, you cannot just do without them. So those are the ones we'll be dealing with in this class. And then, the more stuff you get, it's your requirement that will now determine what you need. And, for instance, there are functions for date. And now in my data, I don't have anything like date. It means I'm not going to use it, right? So the moment I get any data that has to do with date, it means that I must be prepared to use some date function. So that's how it works. So the use of function is need-based. So what I need, I use it for it. If I don't need it, then I don't care about it. But these guys, more often than not, about 99% of time, you are going to come across them. So that's why we're going to be dealing with them. Okay. So if you check your workbook again, this day 2. I remember something now. Okay, so let's do it like this. This is a practice. I remember now. I was supposed to show you guys this one. So let's do it like this. Let's make it like an assignment. Okay. So at least I will be sure to get feedback from you guys. It's not an official submission, but if you don't get the answer, just reach out. I'm going to be sharing my answer on the Discord. So, but I just want to show you what you need to do. So I will expect you to apply that, everything that you have learned today. I expect you to apply it. So this is what is going on here. So you have like these details. This is like an annual income details for these individuals, Ken, Kate, Kelly. So in 2020, Ken made this amount. In 2021, Ken made this. In 2022, Ken made this. And then this is tax rate. So by tax rate, it means that this, I mean, everyone knows what tax rate, right? So this is the amount that's going to be taken from his salary. So, and usually it's the money that you have multiplied by the tax rate, okay? So we want to know how much Ken paid for tax in 2020, this same Ken, and then want to know what he paid for 2021, want to know what he paid for 2022. And then you should be able to find a formula that when you drag it this way, you will get all your answer. And when you also drag it down, you will get for others. So which is exactly like what we did in the first one. So it's mixed reference. I'm just drawing your attention to that. Of course, you should know that by now, because you want some things to be fixed, like these guys now to be fixed when you are coming this way. And then when you are coming this way, you want them to move. So you should know it's mixed reference. So I want you to give it a try. One thing I need to mention, this tax rate is supposed to be in percentage. Okay. So my plan was to teach you a bit of formatting, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to show you very quickly. So you can actually format this to percentage by coming over here. So we have different type of formats. We are still going to touch on it later, that's for sure. But we have different kind of formats that you can have in Excel. Okay, so if you check in this, I can't zoom in, so this is the size. So you see right now we're on general. So if you click on this drop down, you have a lot of options. So you have like number, you have like currency. So if you are dealing with currency, which in this case is actually currency, these guys are actually money, right? So they are like the amount to make. So I can just highlight on all of them and change them to currency. So you can see now that we have this like dollar sign in front. This makes sense. So we can easily know that we are talking about dollars, right? So, and another thing, oh, the class is not recorded on Zoom, but it is recorded on YouTube. I forgot to record on Zoom. Sorry about that. But I don't think we need it since it's on YouTube, so there's no point. So yeah, don't worry. Sorry about that. But yeah, the link is on the link to the YouTube is on the chat. You'll find it in the announcements tab on Discord. I will also share it at the end of the class. Okay, so let's continue. So now this is formatted to currency. So you might feel, okay, I don't want all this dot dot. Just saying that I don't want this dot dot. I just want it to be the exact amount. So you can also do that here. You can see this guy, this is decreased decimal, and then this is increase. So if I use this decreased decimal, you can see it's reducing the decimal. It has changed from 00 now to just 10. If I click it one more time, it takes it away totally. So if I click it, this is the increase now. If I keep increasing, you can see more zeros, and then you can use the decrease to decrease. Okay, so this is for the decimal. This is how you deal with it. So again, you can change the format to, if it's a date, you can use this short date. If it's a fraction and whatsoever. So these are just simple things. So for this tax rate, it's actually a percentage, right? As you know, tax rate is like percent. Okay, so I don't want this to be like this, because if you want to calculate the tax that Ken will be paying in 2022, it's supposed to be this value. Oops, I forgot my equals to sign. I'm already even teaching you the assignment, but let me just show you. So this value multiplied by this, right? You get it? But this, it doesn't make sense, because if he's earning like 5,006, how will he pay a tax of 84,000? So it tells that something is wrong with the tax rate. So tax rate is usually in percentage. So you want to change this guy now to percentage, right? So you come over here. There are several ways you could do it. So because Excel know that this is a common thing, so they already gave a shortcut, which is like here. You can also come here to change it to percentage, anyone you want. So what I will be using is this one. So, but there is a problem. So the problem is that it will automatically just assume that we are trying to multiply by 1,000, by 100, which is percentage. So what you want to do, I think first, is probably to change this to 0.15. Then this one can be, or there are several ways you can do it. You could divide this one by 100. So to know that you're talking about percentage, right? So this one, oops, who can tell me why we have that error? So I do not have equal to. So I can do this here. Okay, let's do it like this. Let's make it more interesting. So I'm going to create a new column here. Okay, so I'm going to call it tax rates, and then I'm going to add percentage. You get, just to make it more organized. And so I expect you to do something like this. Okay, so based on what we did yesterday, you should know by now that anytime I create a new column, I always try to like give it. It's not mandatory, but it's best practice. You already know that by now. So I want to do this now divided by 100, right? So I can easily just drag everything down. Okay, so this is it. So now I can change these guys to percentage. So I know that this is like 15%, this is 10%, this is 15, this is, you get the idea now. So now I can use this guy now that I got here to multiply this value here. So instead of using this one, I'm going to use this one. And then you see that it's more reasonable. So this person will be paying 840 for tax in 2022. So the idea is that when I drag it here, you can see there's error, right? And then when I bring it down, I don't know if this is correct, but okay, it seems correct. But if I drag it like this now, you can see we have error. So fix that. So that's the assignment. So fix it. Someone said it's confused. Don't be confused. I'm only showing you what you will do. No, it's the assignment, so I'm not even teaching. So just, oh, I'm still confused. Okay, maybe you're still confused from this. So make sure you know this one first before you attempt this password. But I believe you know what I asked you to do now. Only for Ken, right? Ken? It's not only Ken. No, not only for Ken, for everything. So once you write your formula here, you should be able to go this way, and then you should be able to bring it down. Oh, got it now. Okay, good. I'm glad you get it now. So do this. Everyone do this. Try it. Create the tax rate for percentage, multiply it, and then try to work your formula so that when you come like this, you get your answer. And when you come like this, you get your answer. That's just what you need to do. Okay, so when you are done, just screenshot. You don't need to send the whole workbook. Don't send workbook. On your individual channel, post it there. So just screenshot. You can use Windows S for your snipe tool, Windows S, or you can just search for sniping tool. I mean, just Google how you can screenshot. So that's also another way if you don't know it. So learn from that. So screenshot it and then send on the chat. So we'll just see it. We'll see what you did, and then everyone will know that you've done it. Okay. So let's go to functions properly. I hope that assignment is clear. If you don't understand, still just ask on your group and then we'll answer it. So functions. So one of the first function we'll be looking at is the sum function. And like I mentioned yesterday, is probably arguably like the most popular type of function or function that we have in Excel. And not just in Excel, we have it in a lot of other languages or like DAX and all of this. We'll talk about that when we get to Power BI. So basically like sums multiple cells together, trying to add different numbers together. So let's see how we can make it work here. So this is an example of a sales, whatever, I don't know, but they are selling different products. So these are like eggs, bread, fish. I decided to use food because I like food. Trust me, I like it. I think some of us to do so. I don't blame myself for that. So this is sold in different regions. So this is like East, this is like West, and then South, and then North. So we are seeing like the amount, right? So this is like sales. I don't want you to confuse it with the number of products they sold. So again, I will try to change this format, if I were you, to $sign, so I can know that it's currency, not trying to deal with number. But you will notice that every time I keep doing this, now what if I have like 1,000 rows? Am I going to keep doing this until I get to 1,000? No. So let me show you a shortcut that you would find very handy as well. Whenever you need to select a range without having to do this drag down, you would have probably seen me use a lot of shortcuts. So just get used to them. So Control-Shift down. That's the shortcut. So Control-Shift works. Let me show you. Let me start from here. You can use it from here. Control-Shift your right-hand side. So it's going to go to the last cell that is not empty. Take note, the last cell that is not empty. So any direction you use this is going to go to the last cell that is not empty. If I come here now and I use Control-Shift arrow this direction, you can see it's going to go to the last cell that is not empty. So the same thing, if I come down, Control-Shift down, is going to come to the last cell that is not empty. Now, I keep saying that is not empty. Let me make you understand what I mean by that. If I put cake here again, and I do Control-Shift down again, you will see that it did not pick this last cake. So it will always stop at the last cell that is not empty. Okay, so let's assume you have blanks in your data. You have some spaces. So always take note of these whenever you use this shortcut. So you might not think that you already picked all the data and then it's stopping at where you found the blank. And then you think, oh, I've gotten all the data. Okay, so it's a shortcut that we'll be using a lot. So that's what I'm showing you. So let's go back to what we want to do. So here I want to select all of these cells, Control-Shift down. So select all of them. Let me cancel this cake. It's not supposed to be here. So Control-Shift down, and then I'm going to change the format to currency. So you can either use this one here, or you can use this option here as well. So here you can even use it to change the different denomination. So you can look for the currency in your country if it's there. I don't know. So I'm going to be using euros. So you can see that we have this. So I want to take this 00 out. You already know this thing by now, right? I already showed you. So we can leave it like this. Okay. So now, just to let us know that it is money we are talking about and not like number. So what we want to do now is to calculate the sum, the total amount that we have made. So total sales. So I'm going to write total sales here. Okay. And I can give it a bold color. Okay. And then I'm going to use that sum function. Okay. So sum, this is it. So it adds all the numbers in a range. Okay. So I'm going to select this range. Again, you can use that Control-Shift down now instead of selecting. So Control-Shift down. You can see it's really helpful, right? So, and then, so the total amount for these, when you add them all together, is this amount. So this is how sum works. Very simple. It just adds all the numbers together instead of having to use formula plus, plus, plus. And that's basically it. I hope that is clear. Okay, I showed you yesterday, so there's no point. So it's just to show you. So go to the next sheet. Now, this is the count one. So count one because, okay, Zainab is raising her hand. Okay, I'll take your question in a moment. Just let me explain this count. Okay, so in count one, you would see that you have similar kind of data. Product here is quantity. So now you know it's not sales. So this number here are quantity. So it's like the amount, the number of products that they sold or that they have. I don't know what context it is here. So you will see that eggs, they are 184. Bread, there is no quantity. Fish, we have 122. Cake, blank, and so on and so forth. So you can see that there are some that are blank. I don't know why they are blank. Either they did not make sales for them, or maybe it's issue with missing data and all of that. When we start working with a real data set, we'll try to look at how you can deal with missing data, but that's not the idea for this class. So I just want to show us the different types of count that we have. Because if you look at my presentation, we can see that we have count A, and we also have count blank. So let's see how these guys can be used. So if you remember yesterday, I did something and then first it did not work and then I changed it and then it worked. And I told you, you have to come to the class to understand what was going on. So I'm about to explain what is going on. So let's assume I want to count the number of products that we have. Okay, I want to count the number of products that we have. So you would expect me to use count. Let's try with count. So and I do count of all of these things. Very simple. That's the formula now. We should get used to the formula. Now I'm going to get 0. Why am I getting 0? So this is the issue. So let me write number of products. Okay, let me increase this one to get that space. So count, what count does is counts, sorry about that. Count only numbers, numeric values in a cell. So if you look at this value that you have here, what we counted, they are not numbers. They are letters, they are strings. So count in Excel, it only counts numbers. Okay, so if I double click on this and I try to move I showed you this yesterday, right? You can move your range. So if I move my range in this, my count, you see here now it is 8228. I already showed you all these things yesterday, what I'm doing, this moving. So I don't expect any question. So if I move this from 82 to 810 and I move it to this place and I press enter, I will have a value now. So the issue is that just count, it only counts the numbers that you have. So it's only going to recognize a number. Anything that is not a number, it doesn't recognize it. So if you look at this now, how many numbers do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's our answer is 6. Even though we have how many columns? We have about 9 columns, right? This is how many columns do we have here now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9, but it's saying 6. And the reason it's saying 6 is because it only counts numbers. Only numbers. That's what count does. Do you get the idea now? So that's what count
Yes, sir.
does. So the second one, the second type, to count this one, then you need to use count A. I don't, maybe Microsoft, they call it all. I don't know. I'm still, you can find that yourself, but it is count, and then you see an A after the count. So maybe the A means all. I don't know. So here, when you read the details, it said counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. So what this one does is it will just find a cell that is not empty. So even if it's a number that is there, even if it's a text, even if it's a string, it's going to count it. So most times, whenever you want to do a count of products like this that are not numbers, what you want to use is what? Count A. Okay. So when I use this count A and I count this, you see that I will get my value, which is 9. You get the idea now, because yes, there are actually 9 products here. If I shift this formula and I bring it here now to this B part, who can tell me what we are going to get? How many values we are going to get? Anybody want to give it a try based on what we explained now?
6.
Count A. It counts everything apart from blank. 6. Someone said 6, someone said 9. It's still going to be 6. It's going to be 6 because it will not count blank. It doesn't count blank, but it can count any other thing. So it means that if I change one of these blank to maybe like HIJK, it's going to recognize it because it is not blank. It doesn't matter what is inside of it. So far it is not blank, it's going to count it. So I hope you are noting the difference. So count counts only numbers that you have in a range. Count A counts anything apart from blank. And then the last one is count. So let me call this one errors. Let me just call it errors. So where we have blanks, it's errors. So the mistakes, so maybe where we don't have quantity. So let's assume that it's a mistake that we don't have quantity. Yeah, let's assume that it's a mistake. So if I want to count blank, I can use the count blank. You can see when I type count, there are a lot of counts. Some of them we'll talk about them like COUNTIF. I think COUNTIF and COUNTIFs. These other ones we will not talk about them, but you can try to check their meaning to understand what they do. But let me just go to what I need to do. So count blank. So this one counts the number of empty cells from the name now. Count blank. So it counts only blank that you have in a cell. So if I use count blank for this range now, okay, let me start from here first. From this one first, I will get what? 0 because there is no blank, right? But if I move it here now, I'm going to get what? Who can tell me? 1, 2, 3. 3, because those are the blanks that are there. So those are the 3 types of count that you need to be aware of. So it depends on the use case. When you need to count, and then you know that you can have a mix of numbers and letters, you use what? Count A. When you know that you only want to count the numbers that you have in the record, what do you use? Count. And then when you know that you need blanks, you use count blank. Okay. So let me ask you an interesting question, and I want you to find out yourself. Just think about it. What if I want to count the things that are not blank? You know, we said count blank is to count blank. So what if I want to count things that are not blank? What's the answer? I'm just doing some kind of reverse psychology now. What is the answer? Things that are not blank.
Count A.
Count A.
Count A.
Interesting. Yeah, that's nice. Someone said count. Okay. I guess the person did not understand the concept very well. Please just make sure that you check, you understand perfectly. Okay, so let me take your question now, Zainab. I see your hand still raised up. Sorry, I did not take it earlier. I just needed to finish that explanation. So Zainab,
yeah, it's fine. Hi, please. How did you separate the currency sign? Please, can you go to SUMIF? Yeah, how did you separate it with the number from the number?
Interesting. Yeah, I get that. So there are 2 types of formatting for currency. So if you use accounting, I don't know, I don't understand why. I'm not in the accounting department, so maybe this is how they write it. But if you use accounting, you have this space. But if you use currency, you have them closer. So I used accounting.
Okay,
from
great.
here. This one is accounting option. So that's, you can see accounting number format. This was what I used. So that's why you have that space.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay. 2 hands raised again. Okay, Princess, please ask a question.
Okay, I'm so sorry to take us back. I need to get something clear, right? You said count blank counts only like the blank cells.
Yeah.
Right, in a range. Then
Yeah.
counts just the cells with numbers in a range, right?
Yeah.
I'm clear. Then counts whole, including whether it has letters or as long as it's not right,
it's not
blank. Okay. So you asked a question that if it's not blank, what do you use instead?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So if it's not blank, it means that you can use count A. So because count A will not count blank. You get.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue. All right. So please, if there's any mentors, or if there's any question on YouTube, please let me know so I can check. So let's continue to the next slide. So that's count 2. Okay, so let me check I think I'm losing track of, let me check my list. Okay, so count, why did I create this count 2? So this count 2, you can use it to like, why did I create this count 2? Okay, I think maybe I would have used one of them as examples for maybe count and so. So just play around this. So try to count the numbers. So I don't know why I added this data. Maybe it was a mistake, but if I remember, I would come back to it. Okay. All right. So the next one that we have, we've treated all the counts, trust me. Okay, I think maybe I remember why. So we've treated all the counts that I wanted to show you, count here, and count blank. So I want us to do mean and max very quickly, mean and max. So from the name, mean and max, you should understand what it means. So mean means the minimum value, okay? Minimum value. And then max means the maximum value. Very easy, right? So if I come here now, I want to know where we had, or what is our minimum sales, and then what is our maximum sale, okay? So I might just come here and do mean, and then I'm going to select this range. So you can see now that I've been using this control shift down now a lot. So that's it. Once you use it like that, nobody will remind you that it's control shift down. You just stick. So ensure to always use those shortcuts so that you can master it. So once I do enter, you can see now it tells me that my minimum is 74. And you can actually check, where is it? Okay, this is it here. So it's the minimum value here. Very simple to use. And then when you use max, just the same thing, you can just do control shift down, and then you have the maximum value is 308. So you can look for it where it is. So this is the value. So I think that's quite easy to understand. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be deleting. Okay, let me just leave it for now. It shouldn't be here. So the next thing we want to do now is average. Okay, so how many of us know what average means? Mathematically, average is, yeah, anybody wants to? Mean.
The mean.
Okay, you will know that person attended the statistics class, which is good. Is there anybody that can put it simply for us? Is there any, I don't know myself, but average, is there any simpler way? Because mean seems a bit complicated for those that are not in. Okay, yeah, Amani, you want to try? Yeah, Amami, I can see your hand up.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I raised my hand because I have a question.
Okay.
I was.
Yeah, it's like.
I will take your
Hello?
question. Yeah. Mr. Howard, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the quotient of the sum of the numbers by the count of numbers.
Woo. I said mean is add, and you're telling us quotient. You want to kill us?
Okay. When you add all the numbers and divided by the number of numbers.
Yeah, I think that sounds more like what I want to hear. Okay, so you add all the numbers together and then you divide it by the count, right? So it means that here now, if we want to find the average sales, right, for this particular store, we can find the total sum of sales, and then we divide it by the number of sales. What is coming on my head is football related, and I know maybe not all of us can relate with it. So sometimes I try to track footballers' statistics by their average. I'm not this guy too, because someone can play like 20 games. Someone can play like 200 games and then score 10 goals, and then another person plays like 10 games and scores like 4 goals. You might be tempted to say, this one that has done 10 goals, but it doesn't really make sense because like the average, this is 10 goals out of 20, out of 200, and then this one just scores 4 out of like just 10. So when you take average of that, you create a balance, and you can really see that this other person is actually better. So average is a very, very important concept that you use to track metrics in a business. Just the same idea that I explained to you, it works in the business sense, because sometimes a particular product can be sold. Okay, let me create a scenario. I mean, an analytical scenario now. So like Rain, you are in a place where they sell cars, right? We have a car company, and then people come. A lot of people buy Toyota because it's relatively cheap. So we have 200 sales for Toyota, and each of those Toyota costs like let's say $10, $100. Okay, so that's going to be like how many? 100 times 200. That's 20,000, right? I hope that mathematics is correct. Yeah, so $20,000. So for 100 Toyotas, and then someone comes in and buys 2 G-Wagon or any expensive car, just 2, and those 2 cost like 30,000. Or okay, let me say those 2 cost like 15,000. So looking at it from the outside, you might be tempted to think that Toyota is really making a lot of sales for us, right? Because you are seeing 20,000 outrightly. But when you now go deep into analytics, you realize that 200 is fetching 20,000, but just 2 is fetching 15,000. So I mean, that gives you a different idea. So that's how average works, with not just looking at sum, not just looking at count. It kind of like creates a balance, you know. So just prepare your mind for some of the things we'll be doing later. You know, these are just analytical. When you talk about critical thinking analytically, so these are the ways you think. You don't just look at the numbers the way they appear. You try to investigate contextually. So one of those things is average. Okay, so let's see. That was a lot of talking. Don't mind me. So we want to do first. Let's calculate the total number of sales. So let me just take this out for now. I can do delete. So once I do delete, you will notice that this my formatting is not gone. Okay, I just want to teach you this also. This formatting is not gone. I chose delete. The data was off, but the formatting is still there. So alternatively, what you can do is to come here to clear. We have this option in your home tab. You will find clear here. I use it a lot. So you can use clear format. If you use clear format, it's going to take away the format. It's not taking off the data. Let me undo. And then if I do clear content, it's going to clear the content, but it's not clearing the format. So the best thing what I want to do here is to do clear all. So it's going to take both the format, everything is going to clear it all. So in case you have this kind of thing and you want to solve it, that's how you solve that. So just showing you. So I want to do sales, total sales here. Okay, and then I want to do number of sales. So maybe that makes sense. Let's just leave it like that. So now the total sales is going to be sum, right? So you're going to be doing sum of all of these. Okay, and then you have this. And then the number of sales. So that's like the count now. So who can tell me what count I'm going to use? Count A or count? I want to count the number of sales that we have. Count A or count? If I'm using this colon, okay, let me be more specific. If I'm using this colon, is it going to be count A or count?
Count.
We're using count because it's numeric, so you have to use count.
Any of them can work, right?
Yeah, count A and count can work.
Yeah, any of them can work. So if it's this one,
No,
then
only count.
You get it, right? So, but this, any of them can work. So let me just use count A. I always like to use count A just to prevent storage approach. So if I count all of these now, we can see that we have 16 here. So to get the sale by the number of, let's call this number of stores, or I believe that this is coming from different store, right? So let's call it number of stores, okay, to give it more context. So let's look at the average, like what we sell based on each store. So I'm going to be saying sales per store, okay? So, and that means that it's going to be this value here divided by this value here, okay? So I can click it. So this is G3, so G3. Okay, so that's like 14.92. So instead of taking all these steps, you can just take one step. Okay, one step with the formula, which is average. Okay, so with average, you can just find the average of all these numbers, and it's going to give you exactly the same thing. Okay, so this is how average formula works. So this thing that you did, your accounting, first sum it up, count the number, and then divide it. Just average formula will give you that answer. So this is just average function. So you can choose to do it this way if you want, if you like wasting time. But I believe many of us, everyone here doesn't like to waste time. So average is your go-to function for that. Okay. So I hope that is clear. It's not hard to understand, right? So we've done, that's everything on the numeric side, because every function that we have been working with so far, they are numeric based. So let's take a look at some text-based function. This is really, really interesting because you will use this also a lot of times because, you know, when you get your data, they are dirty and you want to do some cleaning, you want to do some kind of transformation. So again, they are not limited to this. These are just important ones that you get to use a lot. So that's why I really want to show you all of these things. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take 5 minutes break again. And then when we come back, we are going to try to complete all of these guys here for today, so that tomorrow we'll just go to the last section for the functions, the more complicated one. So let's take 5 minutes. We'll be back in 5. I'll check questions that we might have on the chat. So if you can practice what we have done so far, it would be nice, so that if you have any question, I can also take that. Okay. I promise when we are back, the person who raised their hand earlier, I'm going to take a question. So see you guys in 5 minutes. Thank you. All right, guys, welcome back. So I got a couple of questions and I've tried to answer them to the best of my ability. Someone was asking to go back to the assignment worksheet. Please, I recommend you check the video, this, because I don't want us to drag back. Just check that side in the video to understand what I meant by the assignment. And surprisingly, some already submitted the assignment very fast. Got a couple of questions. Oops, I'm trying to answer them. There's a back on my. Okay, so let's continue. Here, I hope we are back. So I said we'll be looking at some text functions. So these are more for text, more like this for text, and they are not limited to these. Okay, so just the ones that I know that you use often. So one of them that you would find a lot is concatenate. This is not even just for Excel. You find it in all programming languages, Python, and all of these guys. SQL, you use it a lot. It's a very important listen, although it might be a different way of applying it, but it's just the same thing. So what does it mean? Let's check my definition here. So it says combines the values for multiple cells into one. That's very simple and straightforward. So it means that you are trying to combine several values, right? So 2, it could be 2, it could be 3, and then you're trying to combine them together, basically. Okay, so let's see how it works. So if I click on this, and then I do equals to, so I need to zoom in so you guys can see. So and I do concatenate. So I think concatenate has been phased out. So you can see this caution sign. So probably they are trying to roll it out. It might still work for now, but they're trying to roll it out gradually. That's what I believe. So I think you can use concat. I think there's a difference. So you can please mute yourself. Please try to investigate the difference, because I myself, I don't, because this one says join several strings into one text string. This one says concatenate a list or range of. So Google, check what's the difference between concatenate and concat in Excel. But I feel like concatenate is probably being phased out because of this caution that I see. So I'll be using concat, right? So because this looks like it's like the latest one. So we'll find out the difference between them so that you can learn about that as well. So concat, let's see how it works. So I'm trying to join, because this is like first name, right? This is last name. So I'm trying to join the names together. So I have them separated. So I want to add them together. So I'm going to have this, comma, this. So you can see that it's asking for text, right? So text one. If you remember the formulas for function, the function formula for sum, what was it saying? Number 1, number 2. So this is saying text 1 because it's expecting a text, not a number. So that gives you a better understanding that we are dealing with text here. So it's used for strings. And then you pick the second number, which is text 2. If you have another number, you can do it. And then you do enter. So once you do enter, you can see that you have full name, Sarah George, right? So which it basically just joins both of them together. But it doesn't make sense here, right? Because the names is just like packed together. So you might want to give it like space, for instance. So how do I do that? Very simple. So I go back to my formula. Now, in between, I want a space between text 1 and text 2. So what I'm going to do is this. After text 1, comma, my next text is going to be a string, a space. So if you want to write string in Excel and in most programming languages, you use quote. Okay, some maybe depends on the language, like in SQL. Oh, we'll talk about that. Don't let me confuse you for that. But you use quote. So whenever you see quote, in most languages, you would know that you're talking about string. So here, this quote means I want to write a string, but nothing is inside. So I put comma now, and then now it's text 3. So the third text is this one. So there's not going to be any change because inside of this, my string, inside of this code, there's nothing there. So, but what I want is I want a space between the first name and last name. So I'm going to put a space inside this. So I'm saying that this string now represents a space. This one like this now represents a space. So I'm saying join this first name, let there be a space in the middle, and then join this. And then you can have that space. So in case you want something different, maybe I don't want a space, I want an underscore, for instance, you can see. So whatever you want, you can just add it. So let's say I want like this 3 dash. You just do whatever you want, right? So let's make it more interesting. Let me do one more thing. So let's assume I want something before these names. So my assumption is that everyone here is a doctor, right? A doctor, that's medical doctor or academic doctor, anyone. So, you know, doctors usually have like DR before their names. So I want to do that. So I want to have DR in front of this name. So it's going to be Dr. Sarah George. So again, what do you think can be done? So it means that before this first text, I need to put something, right? So which is that doctor? So let me just close everything so that we can start from scratch. So since I know that I want to start with doctor and doctor is not here, so I can do this. And then inside of it, I put doctor, right? Comma. After the doctor, okay, doctor and then dot, right? Then after the doctor, I want, you don't want Sarah to just be joined with doctor. So you want a space too between them. So I have a space here. And then after the space, then you have your Sarah, which is this your first name. And then after the Sarah again, you want space, right? And then after the space, you want George. So once you do that, you can have something like Dr. Sarah George. And then when you drag this down, this works throughout for all of them. So you can see all of them are doctor, and then you can see the same form, the same relative referencing by now. This should be familiar with you. Or you can just do something like this, just double click it, and then you are going to have the same thing. I hope that is clear. So this is like concatenate. Someone said concatenate and concat, they perform the same thing. Yeah, I expect that, but I think maybe one is probably being phased out or something like that. Okay, there's a question here. Say, what if I just put a space after the corner without using the quote? No, if you put a space, just experiment, because if you put a space after the comma like this, did it work? I don't think so. So you can see that the doctor and the Sarah, they are together. So you need a quote to be able to understand that you are talking about a string. That's how it works in Excel. Okay. All right. So I hope that is clear. So someone is saying something. I did what you showed and it's showing error. What error is it showing? Can you be more specific with your error? Be careful with the comma. Check the commas. The commas are what separates. If I miss one comma, I might likely have an error. Okay. So be careful of the comma. The comma is what separates the text. So if you're having any error, investigate your commas, make sure that everything. So this represents the first thing I want to see. Then I want a space after. So between this and this, I have a comma. And then after this space, I want this first name and then a comma between them. After this first name, I want a space, a comma between them. After this space, I want the last name, a comma between them. So please check your comma if you're having an error. What shortcut do you use in creating the open and close double quote at once? It's not a shortcut. Just click on it, automatically create. I think that's how it works for most. So just shift whatever your double quote is. Oh, I'm not using single quote. I'm using double quotes. So just click it. Oh, wait, is it a shortcut? Okay, I clicked it 2 times. Okay, so if you click it once. No, if you click it once, it might not bring anything, and then you have to click it again to get double. I mean, just figure it out yourself. But usually I shift, but my own keyboard now is shift and then double quote. So I click it 2 times to get it. I hope that answered the question. Someone once said, if for old version of Excel, why the other is updated? Yeah. So yeah, that's what I believe also. That concatenate seemed to be like phased out already. So it's getting phased out. So, but concat is like the essential. So you can just do it. So someone said, I fixed it. It was missing a comma. Okay. The one at the top of key 2. What's key 2? Oh, okay. It depends on your keyboard. So you can figure that out. Okay. It might not be at the top of key 2. That's your keyboard. My own key 2 now is this thing that is there, at. So just check your keyboard to know where your double quote is. All right. So this is concatenate. That's how it works simply. And it's a very good concept that you use when you're doing modeling and you want to create some kind of, what they call it, composite keys. You might really need it when you are trying to join several columns together. So it's really a good concept that you need to master. So the next one is substitute. So I actually just created this one using the underscore, but it's fine. You cannot see the formula here because I removed it. So it's still the same thing as what we have. So what does substitute do? Let's check the definition. Substitute allows us to search for a specified string in a cell and replace it with another. So it just works like replace. You know, I showed you replace yesterday, right? So it works exactly like replace. So, but again, this gives you more dynamism rather than just using that, the first one of doing replace. Okay. So what I want to do now is, I don't want to use underscore. I want to replace underscore here with a, what's it called? With a space. Okay, so let me create a new full name, colon, and call this updated full name. Okay, so as you guessed right, I want to change that color to this. So I know that I created this, right? Again, this is not compulsory. Don't think it's all the time, but it's just a good concept. It's a good what was that word again? It's a good practice. So when you are working with larger data set, you understand what I mean by that. So now I want to substitute this value here, this underscore with a space. Okay. So I'm going to use substitute because that's what it means. Substitute, just like footballers want to change a player. So I want to remove Ronaldo now. The Ronaldo here is some people might not be happy with me because I want to remove Ronaldo. Well, it's not a secret that I'm a Messi fan. So I'm removing Ronaldo and I want to put Messi because I think he's the best. I believe he's the best. So I'm taking underscore away and I'm bringing a space. So I'm doing substitute. You people can fight me later, don't worry. Okay, so substitute. So I want to take away this. This is the text that I want to substitute. So this one, okay, comma. Now you can see what it's asking for. It's asking for the old text. So what is the old text that you want to take away? Well, who is the Ronaldo here? So the Ronaldo is underscore. He is old already. So this is underscore. Again, because it's a string, I'm using the double quote. And then I want to replace with the best player now, which is like Messi. So I'm replacing with like space. Okay. And then I click on enter. So once I do that, you can see now that we have this done. And then when I double click, it's everything. Okay. So maybe some of you might have thought about it. If I use that replace, it's going to overwrite this, right? So it's not good to just overwrite your data sometimes because you might need to check for mistake or try to do revert back. So that's one of the disadvantages of using that one. So this will give you a room to have additional. But of course, the use case is even more complex than this. I'm just showing you how to use some of these things on a basic level.
Can you please just go over it again, just quickly? Sorry.
Okay, sure. So I said we have this, and what we're trying to do, okay, maybe because I said Ronaldo Messi, I will not use that example again. I guess that brother is a Ronaldo fan, so he was already upset that so let's use the normal thing that we have. Okay, so we have underscore, and I want to replace all this underscore with a space because I want it to be like Sarah space George, not like underscore. So what we are trying to do is substitute, replace, substitute this underscore with space. So it could be anything. It could be that you want to substitute the underscore with a dash. So whatever. So this is just an example. So here I'm going to use the substitute function. So substitute. Yeah, you can see the value, the meaning. Replace this existing text with a new text in a text string. So again, this is a text function. It does not work with numbers, right? With things that are not numbers. So text, this is text. This is what I want to work on. This is the text. Now, comma, old text. What is that old thing that you want to take out? So I want to take out underscore. So, but that I cannot just write underscore because now I told you that anytime you want to write a string, you need to put them in quotes, right? So you already know this by now. So, and then what do you want to replace it with? I want to replace with the space. I cannot just use space. By now, I told you again, if you want to write any string, you need to write the double quote, and then I can put a space inside. And then I click on enter. So you will notice most times that I don't always close my brackets, right? You guys notice, right? So that's because Excel automatically close for me, okay? So if you want, you can always close sometimes, but if you do what needs to be done, Excel will automatically close for you. So, because if you check now, it has already automatically added the close bracket. So now you can see that the underscore has been replaced with a space. So we have Sarah George. And then when I drag this down, we can see that we have this, okay? So please, take note of all these things that we are learning because in a bigger data that we'll be working on later, we'll be applying almost all of these things. So when I'm doing them, it should not be a surprise what we are doing. Okay. So another popular one is the left function, left, right, mid. So let's see. So left, based on the definition I saw online, it said that it does the opposite of concatenate. I don't know what that means. But I know that it extracts. So you use left, right, or mid, you use them to extract something. Oh, okay, I get the idea. Concatenate is join. So it's the opposite you are trying to extract. But I don't know if that makes sense. So let's see how it works. So left basically extract some characters from a text string from the left. okay, from the left side. So if you look at this data now, this is the left side, and then this is the right, right? So I extract some certain number of characters from the left, that's the left function. I want to extract from the right, that's the right function. And then from the middle, somewhere in the center, then we have the mid function. So let's see how we can use this thing based on this workbook that we have. So let's say, for instance, I have this month. Everyone is familiar with month, but I feel like it's too long. So I want to get like a shortcut for month. So let's just say month. So like the first 3 letters of month. So I can extract it, right? So I can use equals to left. So you can see left returns, because I want to, so this one's supposed to be like gen. I want to do like the first 3 letters or characters that started. So we said return the specified number of characters from the start of the left string, because the way we write is from the left side. We are not writing Arabic. It's Arabic that writes from the right. So it says from the start of the text string. So left, so the text here is, this is the text. And then the next thing, if you don't put anything, because I think I mentioned, yes, I don't know if I already mentioned, but you will notice that sometimes some things are always inside square bracket. Okay, don't let me complicate it now. I don't think I mentioned it, so I will try to mention it maybe tomorrow or as we go along. But there's a difference between when you have something like this and when you have something inside square bracket, okay? So I will talk about that later. It's not a difficult thing, don't worry about that. So the next thing now is the number of characters. So numchar, that's what it's asking, number of characters. So how many characters do you want to extract from the left? So like I said, we want to extract the first 3, right? So it's going to be 3. So once I do that, you can see January is what? Jan. And then when I drag this down, you can have Feb, Ma, and so on and so forth. Very simple, right? Here we go. So that's it. So that's left function. So again, when you find a use case for it, you use it. So it's not just like when you receive data, you just start doing all of these functions. No, there's always a use case for them, and then you apply it. So let's see the right function first. So if you look at the right function, it's similar concept. So I created this, I just formulated this data. So like you have a salesperson, and then you have like a phone line. So this is like the phone. Sorry if this is your country code, I just used it randomly. I'm not trying to create any. So this is like a country code, and then you have like the phone number, and then you have like an extension. So maybe like in the office, for instance, an office block. So they have different extensions and all of that. So I'm interested in extracting the extensions, okay? So you agree with me that the extension are all the last 3 letters, values, right? Or letters or characters. So 1, 2, 3. This is 104 is the extension here. 106 is the extension here. So because I know they are all the last 3 and they are all starting from this side, so now I can use my right function. Okay. So right, and then this is the text. What is the number of characters? 3. So instead of starting from the left, it's going to extract all the first characters from the right. So when I click that, you can see I have 104. And then when I drag this down, you can see I have all the extensions from the right. So because it's counting now from this side. So 1, 2, 3. You get the idea now. So that's like the right function, basically. And then the last one is the mid. So this one, you're trying to steal something from the middle. So not from the left, not from the right, but somewhere in the middle. So let's see how this works. So in this case, I'm interested in the phone number because this is like country code. This is like area code. And then this is extension, as you know. And then this is the real phone number. So I'm interested in this phone number itself, just this number. So you agree with me that this phone number is not at the left side, it's not at the right side, it's somewhere in the middle. So how do I extract it? I use the mid function. So let's write phone number. Okay, let me bold this so we can know that these are like the columns. So now I can't use the left function because if I use left, I would have to pick this inclusive. If I use right, I have to pick this. So I just want this one in the middle. So here, that's where the mid function comes in. So you can see mid functions returns the character from the middle of a text string, given a start position and length. So for mid function, all you need to supply is a start position because left knows that it needs to start from the beginning. Right knows it needs to start from the beginning, from the last place. But in mid, you can start from anywhere. So you are the one that will assign, okay, this is where I want you to start from. Now, if you look at our, let me cancel that. If you look at our phone lines, you agree with me that the number we need comes after, this is 1 character, bracket is 1, 2, 3. Let me highlight it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then space is also a character. 6. So it comes after every 6 character. That's when the phone number comes. it comes after every 6 character. And the phone numbers are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do you get it now? So the phone numbers are 6 and it comes after every 6 characters. So let's see. So if I use meet, it's asking for the text, which is this. It's asking for the start. So where do I start from? I'm starting from the number 6. How many characters do I want? I want 8. I click on enter. So I think there's a mistake. I missed something. So this is 1, 2. Okay, sorry. I should be starting from, I said this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I should be starting from 7, not 6, because this is the 7th one. So I'm starting from 7. So it started from here. So there is a space. If I click on it now, you see that there's a space here. That's why it did not include that too. So I'm going to modify the formula to 7. I want to start from the 7th character, and then you see that we have starting from here and it's counting 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we get this. And then when I drag this down, you have this. Okay. Now let's make it more interesting. This will be like I don't want to say assignment, but just practice. So this result that we got now, let's assume we want to take away this hyphen. So I don't want hyphen there. What do you think we can do? Can someone try? Can someone guess, or can someone give me a clue? Or you want to try it and submit later? So I don't want this hyphen to be there. So I just want 6571022. Based on what we've learned so far, what do you think we can do?
We could try the substitute method.
Substitute, right? So we're going to substitute the underscore, the dash with what?
With a space? Or nothing? Nothing.
With nothing. No, you don't need a space. Yeah. So let's try it. So substitute this text, and then the old text is dash, right? And then you want to, new text is this. This is just nothing. No, it's just nothing, So once you do that, you can see that you have your number. But instead of having to create this a lot of times, you can just do everything here once. Also, should I make it complicated, or let me leave it at this level? Let me see.
I think you should do it. Just nesting functions, right?
Yeah. So you just next the function. Should I do it now? No, don't let me. Should I do it? Should I do it? No, should I not? Should I do it? Okay, it's close to the end of the class, so don't let me. I know some people are already exhausted, so don't let me do it now. But yeah, you can just do this and then you drag it down. Maybe tomorrow I can start from here to see how you can nest the function. Okay, you are saying I should do it. Okay, let me do it. Since you guys are saying I should do it. Okay, so instead of having to create this one separately, you can do everything at once. So this is the idea. This particular formula will produce this result. So you can say this whole formula is like one text. Okay? Let me rewrite. Let me keep this one now. So this whole formula here is like one value. So I can write this substitute function, and then instead of C2, I will replace it with the formula that generated this one, because this C2 here was actually a formula that generated it. So let me show you. Let me first make it easy for you. So let me copy this formula that is generating this. And then here, instead of C2, let me add this one. So it means that anywhere it sees C2, it's first going to do, I will need to take away this equals. So anywhere it sees this C2, it will first need to do this mid first. So once it does this mid, it's going to get this value. Now it can substitute, you get the idea. So this will just give us the answer straight up without having to do mid first and then substitute later. So this can just do everything. So don't worry, we'll talk more on next step, because you will need to know how to mix the functions together. So you have a lot of functions entering, they call them nested functions. So you are putting the function inside the function inside the function. Okay, so if you don't understand that, that's not a problem. We can talk about this later. But the point I wanted to show you here is mid, how you can use mid, left and right. Okay, so I think that's already getting a lot already for today. So let me just show you the last one. I promise the last one. This is the last one. Let me show you the last one for today. Then we'll continue from here also tomorrow. So the last one is the if function. Okay. So if you check here, you have your if function. So this is something that we can all relate with very, very well. So from tomorrow, we'll continue from the rest. So let's assume we have some students here. So these are John Bull and so on and so forth. I hope no one is bearing any of these names here. If not, I hope you have a good score. We don't have a good score. Pardon me. It was just random. So you have these students. I know anyone that is joining here will be happy. At least he has 93. Let me see the lowest score. Nobody is Brooks. I don't think anybody can be Brooks on this group. And I don't think anybody can be Brian. I know what I will do next time. I will use our names so that some people can, their eyes will go, once they see that they have like small scores, why would this guy give me small scores? So their eyes will be open if they were sleeping before. Okay, that was just, I don't mind me. So you have the names and then you have like the scores. So this person scored 93, Bo scored 85 and so on. So let's assume that there is in the school, anyone who scores above pass. So let's say pass is when you score 50 plus. So if you score 50 plus, you pass. Let me make it tougher. So let's say 60 plus. If you score 60 and above, you have passed. If you score less, you have failed. So anybody that scored like 59 now, they failed. So this is like 50, less than. Okay. So do you get the idea now? So if you score, in fact, I'm already mentioning it already. If you score, because life is conditional. Okay, every decision we make in life, as I always make, this is the example I use in my classes. Life is about decision. Why are you here today? You are here because you know that today is Tuesday and we have classes. On Wednesday, you also come. But on Thursday, you will not come. Why are you not coming on Thursday? Because there is no class. So if the day of the week is Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, come to class. If it is not, don't come to class. So life is about condition. The decisions we make is based, you look at it, if this is met, and then you do this. That's exactly what's going on here. So let's see how it works in Excel. So what I want to do is, I want to determine if these students actually passed or failed. So what I want to do is, I want to ascertain if these students actually passed or failed based on their result. So I want to use a condition to check that. And in Excel, how you use condition is if. And not just Excel, in almost all programming languages. So you can see it checks whether a condition is met and returns one value if true and another value if false. Okay. So what we want to check now is if. Now there's a logical test. The logical test is what we have here. So I want to say if this value is greater than or equals to 60, because we said that 60 plus. So that means 60 has to be included, right? 60 plus. So greater than or equals to 60, that is the test. That is the logical test. Now, after the logical test, comma is what? Value if true. So what is the value if it is true? If this person score more than 60, the value should be that what? Pass. So again, I'm using a quote here because what? It's a string, right? So you already know. So what if this condition is not met? So that means if this person does not score up to 60, that's value if false. So what should we write? Fail, right? So once I click on enter, you will see that this person now passed, which is true because 92 is actually above 60. Now, when I drag this down, you see that this person passed, this person failed. Is this correct? Yes, because 49 is not up. So you can check all those that failed. 39 indeed is not up to. 44 indeed is not up to. 34 indeed is not up to. So this is how you use, this is a very simple example of if statement. So I'll be stopping here today. If you have the time before tomorrow, check out some if, just try to read on them and understand them. But tomorrow for sure, we'll be working on other things. We'll be starting again with the if, and then we'll be trying to take count if, sum if, average if, and then we'll see how far we can go. So with that, we've come to the end of today's session. So I will take questions for the next 5 minutes. So if you have any questions.
Oh, yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, Mr. James, please ask a question.
Okay, so thank you very much. Hello, sir. Is that Mr. James? Who's talking?
Okay,
yeah, it's James now. Okay, so yeah, good evening, Idris. So yeah, so my question is based on this, the last thing you just did, and that's the if function. Not really a question, though, more like a suggestion in a way. So I was looking at you. You said in the other in this other cell, yeah, there is a place where you said fail. There where it's written failed, and then with the less than sign, and 60. So I was thinking, is it not possible to just like have 60 there, and then in the if function, when using the in the if statement that you'll be writing, put something like maybe an if b2 greater than what they call it, f2, then fail. You can do fail, but most especially you can put maybe an absolute reference on that f2 also, so that rather than instead of writing 60, I don't know. I'm just suggesting maybe something we could try. Yeah. So that's just all I have to say. Anyways, and thank you very much for today's class.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's interesting. I mean, I love that because it's an application of if I understand what you're saying. So what he's saying is instead of like locking this 60, because let's say for instance, the lecturer feel like, well, a lot of people failed, so let's try to reduce the score, right? So you have to come here again and like change this from 60 to maybe 50 and all of that. So I guess what he's saying, if I hope I'm right, is that we can have a reference here. So we can have something like, we don't even need all these guys. So we can just have a number here like 60, or let me call it, let me just use this one and say pass score, something like this. I hope I'm right. I hope this is what you meant. So we can have 60 here.
Yeah, a pass mark.
So
yeah.
instead of using greater than equal to 60, I can just reference this, right?
Yeah, that's it.
I have this. So that anytime the lecturer says there's something wrong with the formula.
Yeah, it's not reference.
Ah, good. You people are making my head swell up. So it's not reference. If we check down now, this has moved. This has moved. That's why everything is being passed, because everything here is greater than 0. So what I need to do is to lock this, right? So excuse me. So once I log this now, I can apply the formula again, and then we have what we have. So in case I need to change this, let's say the lecturer said we can reduce the score to 50, it can easily just automatically do for everything. Or let me make it maybe 80 so that we can see that more students will fail. So you can see more students fail. This is what he's trying to say. Thank you for that suggestion. This is also applying what we have learned so far.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Olasupo Olawale, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is, can we use R language? Is it important in data analytics?
R language?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll be having sessions. This is not part of the class. So this is Excel class. We'll be having night. I mentioned in the pre-boot camp, sometimes we'll have some sessions that are not part of the normal classes. I will invite some of my colleagues or some of the guys that I know. So they will tell us how it is coming into the analytics world. What are the tools you need to learn? What are the conflicts? What are the this kind of thing. So keep your question for that session. Okay. Yeah. But if you want, you could also ask on the Discord. This is why the Discord is there, so we can discuss. So I don't want to be talking about it.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. So Mr. Siniro, please go ahead. Mr. Siniro, your hand is up. We have 2 more minutes, please. Mr. Siniro, your hand is up. Yeah.
This is Miss.
Miss. I'm sorry, apologies about that.
It's okay, thank you. All right, hi. I wanted to inquire about the function right. If, for example, the extension is 100 in hundreds, and then it extends to 1,000, and for example, you're extending to 3 digits, doesn't it affect the whole function, or how do you go about it?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So when you want to use either left or right, you have to ensure that there's a pattern. Do you understand? So if there's no pattern, there are other ways you could implement, but working with left or right, you have to ensure that there's a pattern. So you would notice that in the example, I made sure that everything here were 3 letters, 3 characters that we need. So that's the pattern. So here now, the moment is 1,000, you can see that the result does not make sense. It's not what we really have. So for you to use this kind of functions, you have to take note of, there has to be a pattern. That's why you can use it. In a case where it's not, then you can't use it. So you have to probably use another method to find the values there. You understand? So, but you cannot use right in this case. So it's just understanding your data. And then, so there are ways you can combine, but I don't want to complicate things. I mean, you could combine left and right and mid. You could combine these stuff together, but we cannot be teaching that now because you first need to understand what they do. And then when you get to that scenario or that situation, you can always find the way out. Oh, I hope that answers your question. But thank you for that thought.
Sure,
it
does.
shows that you're trying to think ahead of the class. That's impressive. Okay, so I think with that, we've come to today's session. So if you have any other question, please ask on the Discord. We'll definitely see you again tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central European time. It's going to be an amazing session, preparing us for the weekend. So I hope to see you guys by then. If there's any data set that I will drop, again, it will be on the resource. So please take a look at it and then we'll see. Thank you so much. Have a great evening and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.